Good evening. It's Sunday evening. I really hope that you've had a good weekend. I know for me, it's been a pretty good weekend. Yesterday, practicing relaxing and not doing as much. And today, effectively again, deciding that we were going to work on Friday night instead of Sunday so that potentially we could put the boat that Ken and I attracted in the last couple of weeks and the motor in the water today. Of course, the boat isn't finished or completed, and I noticed myself with a bit of anxiety about it not being finished. How are we going to put it in the water? All of the sort of stuff that I tend to worry about when when there's something new and unknown for me. And I noticed today that even though I had dedicated most of today to not doing anything on my to-do list today was very short, sweet, and taken care of pretty much first thing this morning. And I noticed that as it drew closer and closer to the time when we were going to take the boat out this afternoon, there was a level of agitation in me. And I started to, really sort of be the agitation. So I was being snippy. My body was hurting. I was feeling out of sorts. And of course, that's a felt experience for everyone around me, for sure, including myself. But it's my job, my responsibility to sort of tune in and take a look at, what's really going on underneath that. And thinking, why am I resenting this boat? We got given a boat. That's pretty cool, if you ask me. And we got given this motor that's going to run the boat. Another cool thing. This is my first, experience, I guess, with my boyfriend having a boat of this size. And it's the anxiety comes from, it's really generalized. It pops up and it just sort of like appears all of a sudden. And I'm having this ramped up anxiety about taking the boat out on the water. Now, I grew up with a boat. My dad was a boater. My parents were boaters. We had a boat. We spent a lot of time on the boat. We spent a lot of time in the water, in the ocean, in the lakes. So it wasn't that we were going to go out on the water that was agitating me. But I started to revisit some of the things underneath the boat, like underlying why I was feeling agitated. And what did I find? But childhood trauma from the boat experience, from my dad and his intensity around boating and strictly water skiing. Like, I only ever water skied once and finally got up because I had a boom bar and I could pull myself up. Trying to get pulled up by a rope, we went around and around and around and around and around. And my dad was patient to a point, and then he wasn't patient anymore. And it was explosive, and of course our relationship was tumultuous, and that would cause friction. And so here's all these underlying, way buried away traumatic events from my childhood, and that isn't the only one. I'm just saying that there's a long history of stuff around boats that I have created trauma around. And it resonates somewhere deeply inside my body, and it's trapped. And because it's trapped in there, it's never seen the light of day. I've never processed it and or been allowed to feel it and or explored feeling any of those feelings. All I could do was notice that I was feeling it. And then getting curious about why I was feeling those things. And go figure, my trauma's attached to my parents way, way, way long time ago. I'm 47 years old, and I keep thinking to myself, well, when is this going to be over? When am I going to stop feeling traumatized by my past, my history, my childhood, my parents, all of the things that I feel have happened to me over my lifetime? And it's one of the reasons why I've lived in a reactionary mode. Like, I'm constantly on the lookout. I'm gauging, where's that next thing coming for me? And when I'm always on the lookout and I'm ready to, react, that I'm living in a place of reaction. And today I woke up that way. I was rigid. I woke up feeling reactive. And I woke up feeling like agitated and upset and angry, which is so crazy when I'm about to take a really beautiful boat ride in the inlet in Deep Cove and explore some of the coves there that I've never had a chance to as an adult, drive in a boat and go and explore. And so isn't that interesting that because we're hurt in our childhoods by traumatic events. Granted, I don't know that my parents ever intended to traumatize me. I don't think they woke up any morning at all and thought, well, today's Channy's turn and we're going to traumatize her today and this is how we're going to do it. It was never intended, but it was the outcome. And so because they were also traumatized and never took a look at that trauma until way later in life, some of their traumas got on me, if you will. And that stuff stuck on me and then went underground and started to develop nuances of my character and the way that I deal with things, the levels of anxiety that I feel about generalized things, docking the boat, getting the boat off the truck, those kinds of things. The trauma that I sensed and experienced from my parents in those situations when they were doing the boat launch and everything else, the intensity of that, the intensity of people watching too. You know, today was our first voyage on that, and it was extremely busy there. And I noticed immediately, as soon as I saw all the people, the hustle and bustle, the people watching everything coming and going, hundreds of people were in that direct vicinity, and I started feeling amped up and anxious. And now I have to help launch a boat from a truck and trailer that I'm not used to. There's so many unknowns, and that rises into levels of anxiety, excuse me, that I sometimes don't feel like I can control, or sometimes I feel overwhelmed by. And I certainly notice that it shows up locked up in my body. And so my body, mind, and spirit aren't doing very well in these moments. But I know I've played out the tape far enough because I know how it can go, that I say, listen, I'm feeling really sensitive. I actually feel really weak today. I'm not feeling strong like I normally do. I'm feeling nervous, and because there's so many unknowns. We've never actually physically been on this boat, hoping that it floats, you know, when we're out on the water and we don't get stuck somewhere. And how are we going to get it out? How are we going to get it in? All of the unknown things cause this great tidal wave of overwhelm. And then I'm in a state. So knowing that on the way there, talking through it, making sure that I put a strategy in place so that I'm not feeling overwhelmed all the time. I can sense it. It comes and it goes, and it comes and it goes. It's kind of like the waves in the ocean. It leaves for a moment, and then all of a sudden, whoosh, I'm washed over again. So knowing this about myself, getting myself into the position of taking responsibility for this and putting strategies in place and having conversations before things happen, so that I don't find myself 3 paces over the cliff going, how do I get back from here? And then everything's staticky and snaky, and nobody's enjoying that, including anybody else around us, and particularly us. So on the way there, I said, I really want this to be a good experience. I don't know what this looks like for me. This is maybe what I need. And, there's no proper wharf where we went, so it was quite far away, and there was just some details that were really sketchy, if you ask me, because I was like, so many unknowns. It's not that I've never backed up a trailer before, but I've never backed up this trailer before. I've never backed up this truck with this trailer, with this boyfriend, with this boat. So there's a couple of variables there that are unknown. Now, granted, after we've completed the whole thing, I can come back and go, okay, so I know what worked, what didn't work. We can put strategies in place so that it works better next time. But having had that conversation in the beginning allowed me to get to a different place so that I didn't find myself in complete lockdown and we weren't knocking heads like my dad and I used to. So that ended up being a good day. What I noticed beforehand was normally we would rush out the door and then get halfway there and remember that we needed to eat. And so I'm just trying to be more mindful of those things these days, be more careful about what I'm eating, because at that point in time, I'm past the point of being hungry, and then anything will do. So today I made sure that I made a really healthy lunch for us, that I packed way more than enough food so that we were okay for our entire voyage. And then at some point in time, we just stopped the boat. And it was so cool. It was so calm. And it was so quiet. And we totally got to enjoy being surrounded by nature. And I got to breathe in fresh seawater and realize and know that I miss seeing, feeling, and experiencing those things. I saw 5 or 6 different, potentially the same, but it was in varying different degrees. So unless he followed us around all day, but there was seals out there. And so it was just such a cool experience to be on the water, a different vantage point, breathing in fresh air, really enjoying our time together, and really understanding just how grateful I am, because at the beginning of the day I was feeling resentful for this boat, which is so crazy. It was a boat that was gifted to us. It's worth money. It floats. There's nothing wrong with it. The motor is nearly new. The gas that we spent today was very minimal. It is a great motor. It's a great unit. And even though this morning I was in resistance to it, and I'm like, oh, this boat, it's driving me crazy. It's taking up all this time, blah, 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 blah. To really be in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of nowhere, with no one around, except the seals and the birds that are flying over, and really taking in and nourishing my soul to digest all of the moments that are around me. Those things make me feel abundant. They make me feel, I feel deep gratitude when I am in those circumstances. And today, about midway through, I went, wow, we have a boat. So cool. At this time when we're unsure about what the boundaries are around distancing and being with people and la la la, I have the opportunity that many won't have. And how grateful I am to have that opportunity to go out to the middle of nowhere and really just land where we want, eat where we want, explore where we want, and do it on the timing that we want, and how much freedom that really gives us. And so I shifted a little bit about the boat. And then all of a sudden I started feeling great joy and gratitude and honor. And I got invested. So before now it's been like, oh, when are you going to be done your project? To, in what ways can I help you so that we can finish this project sooner? And it means to me that by me changing my mind just that little tiny bit, that I'm then in a place of service instead of this grouchy foot tapping, when's this going to be over and done with, traumatized, anxiety ridden me, which is no fun for anybody. And so today, because I've been working so hard every day, like seriously so many hours in a day, writing and reading and studying and input. It was so nice today not to have much of that at all. I did my meditation this morning. I did a little journaling. I drank my hot water, lemon and honey this morning. I made sure that I had water on the boat. There were that I took care of my food needs today. So ultimately, it was such a fantastic day. And I think that's the point in any of this, right? Is to create fantastic moments, for creating fantastic memories, and really feeling and sensing the deep sense of gratitude for the experience that I'm having, for the opportunity that gives me, and for the magic. I literally cleaned out the driveway of my car, my VW that sat here for nearly 2 years, and ultimately the intention was to clear space, to make more space for whatever was going to show up. The same day a boat showed up. The same day. To me, that is some pretty masterful, powerful manifesting tools. Yet I was in resistance to it. Isn't that interesting? And so these are the things that I'm exploring on a regular basis, is this idea that every act generates energy in that direction. Every single one. So what act am I choosing? What behavior? What thought pattern? What actions moving forward? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I doing? What will I do? What can I do? What can I do? What will I do? Because every act generates energy in that direction. And so when I'm sitting here stewing and I'm angry and I'm upset and I'm agitated and all that stuff, those are feelings connected to the past that no longer serve me. It is my duty. I invite myself. It is my job to take a look at those things, trying to unravel them a little. Sense when compassion is needed, and sense when I need to say, you know what? No more of that. No more of that. We're going to do this differently. And we're always at choice. And it's so empowering to be in this place, in this moment, experiencing this experience. So my hope is that you had a great weekend. I'm sending so much love out there, and I hope that you're feeling it, getting it, receiving it, and reciprocating it wherever it's needed. Be kind to yourself and others. See you tomorrow.